So yeah, this is going to be another video where I skip the introductory non-Smash fact, and this is because I've got a lot of Min Min related stuff to go over, as well as other things that have come out with the new Smash Ultimate patch. First, there are a few basic things I'd like to go over that were discussed in Min Min's presentation, since I've seen on Twitter that a good amount of people actually didn't care to watch that. Since my audience is fairly casual as far as I'm aware, I figured I'd take the time to enlighten anyone who missed that presentation. First off is the fact that Min Min's up smash is a reflector, which is definitely not obvious at first glance. According to Sakurai himself, this is a reference to how the move functions in the game, so I'll take his word on it as I've never touched ARMS before, nor do I intend to. Also, the reflector doesn't get stronger based on how long you charge it for. Its power is the same no matter what. And the same is also true for Ness's forward smash. And next up is the fact that Min Min's constant dragon arm, which by the way I'm going to refer to as her normal arm, gets a boost whenever you throw someone. And what this boost does is add power to the laser the dragon arm shoots in her uncharged smash attack and her aerials. Note that this powered boost is always present when you charge your smash attack. And the same is true for her special arm, which of course refers to her right arm, controlled by the B button. However, this grab-based boost actually doesn't affect her special arm, as we can see based on the visuals alone. The normal arm has flames spewing out of it, yet the special arm has nothing. And we can see this in effect when we try to use the normally boosted moves with the special arm. Sticking to this specific topic, Gray Shore is as a fact about this grab boost for her normal arm. That is, if you grab and throw a sandbag, for whatever reason you won't get that boost. Perhaps this is because the sandbag isn't really considered a real fighter, and thus grabbing and throwing it isn't actually a challenge, and then they decided to not reward you for it. This would make sense then, as you do get this boost when you throw an assist trophy, which is a bit harder to grab. Speaking of this boost, I want to take a moment to look at Kirby's copy ability of Min Min, as prompted by TA Kirby Star, as well as many other related comments I got. When you get the copy ability, you don't see any arms on Kirby really. Pressing the special button will have Kirby send out the dragon arm at a normal speed. That is, not a smash attack or anything like that. You can only send it out at the jab-like speed that Min Min does. You can also use it in the air, and you can also shoot the laser. But despite using it with the special input, this move is more akin to Min Min's normal arm, since you'll always wind up with this arm, no matter which arm Min Min has when you swallow her. But if you grab and throw an opponent, Kirby's arm won't actually get a boost. Which is quite a shame too, that would have been a great feature, but whatever. And whether or not Min Min has the boost before you swallow her also doesn't affect anything. Speaking of things not changing, Jaden Moya says that the arms that you have equipped will change with you in the victory screen. Now I had actually seen contradicting information regarding this, so I wanted to test it out for myself. At first it was looking right, but then I ended a match with the dragon arm, and the victory screen was the one with the megawatt. So your victory screen isn't changed by what arm you're using before, and I didn't find anything that would suggest you get a certain victory screen depending on your choice either, since all three victory screens use each arm once. Also, I tested to see if the grab boost affected anything at all, but I couldn't see that being the case. Actually, this leads me to the next fact I want to tackle by Jared Poor and John Luang, regarding Min Min's left arm. On her portrait, her left arm is very different from her right arm, in that the arm itself is very scaly, rather than a noodle. However, when you go into the match, you'll see that both arms are noodles. This is because the scaly arm only appears when the normal arm has been given that boost effect, which I admit I definitely didn't notice off the bat myself. So no, her portrait isn't necessarily wrong, it just defaults to her boosted state. Her Ram Ram victory screen has a scaly arm too, if you hadn't noticed. Though I can't see the fiery effect on the dragon here, but yeah. Actually though, she is missing the scaly arm on the no contest screen, and when she's the one who's lost and is clapping, so that's pretty neat. Next, Reese Demko, among many others, asked how the scaling mechanic works for Min Min. There are some different things to cover here. Mainly, it's important to know that each arm scales separately. The hits from the normal arm and each individual special arm all scale on their very own, meaning that using one doesn't weaken the other. However, using one of your dragons will scale the other dragon. That is, if you use the normal arm, then use the dragon special arm, that dragon special arm will have been staled. Whether or not the dragon special arm was active when the normal arm hit doesn't matter. It seems the game considers these two the same attack in a sense, so using one dragon will always stall the other dragon no matter what. Personally, I do feel like this might be an oversight, considering how all of the other arms stall completely individually, but who knows. This is still pretty good to know though, as if you use one arm quite a bit, you can switch things up by changing to another arm to make it fresh. But if you use both dragon arms, they'll get very stale very quickly. Next, the Science Noober Ezzy asks what the special attack up spirit does to Min Min. I've done a test with this spirit on the channel before, so I'm using the same setup. That is, one spirit set with this special attack up effect, and one without it. So we can know that any changes in damage are specifically because of that special attack up effect. First, with no special attack up, her jab does 25.2%, and her special dragon jab doing the same. Ram doing 15.8%, and Megawatt doing 34.7%. And just to be thorough, her smash attack does 61% with the same as her special dragon, Ram does 50.8%, and Megawatt does 96.6%. Now, with the special attack up spirit attached, her jab does the same as before, but the thing is, so does the special dragon jab, as does the Megawatt jab. In fact, all of the damage is identical to the previous test, so the special attack up spirit doesn't seem to affect these moves. The thing is, if we go into the pause menu, we can see that the unique punch moves fill up the first 2 slots, so I can see why they're not really considered special. And her down special is simply changing her arms. So really the only real special move that Min Min has is her up special. This normally does 28.4%, but it actually ends up doing 32.7% if you have the grab boost. And then with the special attack up spirit, you do 29.8% normally, and 34.3% with the boost. So yeah, it seems that the only real special attack that Min Min has is her up special. Speaking of the grab boost and special attacks, the AAJU has given me a neat fact about when Min Min gets the smash ball. When you get a final smash, it's difficult to see with all the visual effects, but Min Min will be in her grab boosted state. And this doesn't seem to go away too, so that's cool. However, at the end of this comment I got, they said that which arm Min Min has equipped will show up in her final smash. But when I tested this, it wasn't true. The special arm Min Min has equipped will always be the Megawatt. In fact, you don't seem to even use the special arm at all in the final smash, as you deal the final blow with your normal arm. It's funny to note though that this final smash will always have Min Min with the grab boosted normal arm. I was going to test whether or not you being boosted increased the move's power, but then I remembered the last fact, in that you always have your boost when you have your final smash ready. So I guess that's why. I wanted to see if this was like some other final smashes and the arm you use changed based on how many opponents you attack, but as it turns out the final smash only works on one opponent. That is, it'll do the cinematic on the first opponent it hits, and any other opponent will just sort of get sent away. Also, as Dadddd had pointed out, there seems to be a large beam at the end of her final smash. This is of course the final hit of the move, but you can briefly see the beam's effect in the match afterwards. Dadddd asks if this beam has an active hitbox, but unfortunately it doesn't seem to be the case. This effect is purely visual. Now before we move on to non-Min Min facts, let's go over a bunch of miscellaneous things. First up, when you pick up an item, it takes over your normal arm's inputs with the A button, meaning you can't deploy her normal arm when you're carrying something. However, if you use the special arm first, then you can use the normal arm immediately afterwards. This same thing is true for your aerial punches. I do have to say, unfortunately, that you cannot pick up 2 items with both of your arms though. I made a video a long while back about how the ice climbers were crazy in this regard, so I was hoping something like this could happen too, but it can't. And it makes sense, since Min Min is holding the item in the dragon's mouth here. I can't really see a feasible way for her to hold an item in Ram, or god forbid Megawatt. It'd be like trying to use your phone with your gloves on, except way worse. You know what would also make using your phone a lot harder? Well, this little fact from Mr. NoFace on Twitter can definitely show us a good way to get stuck. So from what I gather, this setup seems to be pretty precise. What you want to do is fast fall nair with your neutral arm, do a tilt attack with your special arm, then do a strong attack immediately after with your neutral arm with the dragon beam. Then after that, buffer and up taunt, and in this state, you're entirely unable to do anything. You can't even change your special arm, and you'll only be released once you get hit. From what I tested, this only works if you actually hit the opponents with their first couple of moves, as if I try to initiate it without hitting the opponent, it doesn't work. Which direction you're facing doesn't seem to matter either. However, your special arm does seem to make a difference. You can do this fairly consistently with Ram and Dragon as your special arms. However, if you're using Megawatt, I noticed that it only seems to work at really low percents. From what I gather, this seems to be only possible if all 3 of the first hits connect. The specifics of all of this are something I'm still pretty uncertain of, but you'll have a much easier time doing all of this with Ram and Dragon at low to mid percents, and with Megawatt at only low percents. Now before we move on to the new stage, let's go over some rapid fire miscellaneous facts. Shadow Scully had given me a cool fact about the arm's spirits. Courtesy of my patron Dino, this is what, say, Twin-Tail Spirit looks like before you update your game. And after you've updated your game, it looks like this. Notice how in the updated version she now has the ARMS logo. So basically all ARMS spirits were updated to include this logo now. It's pretty neat. Next, Aaron Hayes asks if Mario could reflect her arm. Simply put, Mario's cape will do nothing to Min Min's arms. And with the Franklin badge, we can see that Ram Ram is also not considered a projectile, as it's not reflected at all. Also, you can't reflect the Dragon Beam, nor can you absorb it. Lastly, Alejandro Torres states a small fact regarding the arm change. However, you can actually change your arm while on the respawn platform. Unless you're using special stick, the input is pretty difficult, as if you hold down too much you'll just drop off the platform. But yeah, if you just angle down slightly, you can change your arm here. Also, just as an added note, when you get KO'd, the arm that you had before you got KO'd is the one you spawn with. Oh, and fun tip, but there's no cooldown time between the arm switches, so if you're a good masher, you can do this. This is a pretty good taunt if I do say so myself, so be sure to use it properly. Now let's move on to our brand new stage that we got to play with. First, I'm going to go over a few things I want to mention that I discovered when toying around. The ceilings on this map are always active, even on hazards off, and while they're a bit small, you can still place things like motion sensor bombs onto them. However, it doesn't seem that the top of the ceiling is physical. That is, you'll bounce your head from below it, but you'll phase through from above it. Next, you can ignore the jump boost from these bounce pads if you simply short hop over them. You can use this to sort of bait people into you, or to just mix up your timing in general. Speaking of bouncing though, if you spawn in a metal box on these bounce pads, they'll also bounce. And if you do it on the flat pad here, you'll see that they bounce indefinitely, or at least until the bounce pad deactivates. I didn't notice this with many other items, but it does seem to happen with the green shell. It also happens when you throw it onto the pad. It also happens with the smart bomb, but as you can imagine, throwing it doesn't make it bounce. Looking at the bounce pads more though, I was curious to see how they interacted with the screw attack. But as it turns out, the screw attack doesn't even spawn here. And I think the bounce pads are probably the reason why. Lastly, regarding the bounce pads and your weight, I was wondering if your weight affected how high you went. However, it seems that you go the same height normally as when you're metal. And the same is true with the bunny hood, so the added jump boost doesn't affect anything either. However, Merit B Plays asks a similar question, if the weight affects the amount of damage the pads do. Normally they do 25.2% total to Ridley, and unfortunately this percent doesn't change when Min Min is metal, or with the bunny hood. However, while weight alone doesn't seem to change anything, you'll deal more damage depending on your size. And I don't really mean literal size, as Ridley does the same damage as Min Min. However, if you get a poison mushroom, your jump will do less damage. And if you get a super mushroom, you'll do more damage. Though what I find interesting is, if you're given a power buff from, say, Xerneas, your damage output doesn't seem affected, so size change seems to be more of a unique factor than a power-based one. And that's it for Min Min. I do want to talk about some stuff from this patch 8.0.0. For example, look at this. There was no stun animation or anything, yet look at all of that damage it did. It seems that when Ridley uses his skewer on someone with a yellow glow, this will happen. There won't be any stun, but the move will still deal a lot of damage. And I'm fairly confident that this is based on whether or not the opponent was recently grabbed, as in the past there used to be a double setup where someone like K. Rool could berry throw the opponent, and then Ridley would just use skewer over and over again. This however no longer works. The skewer would do plenty of damage still, but it's not an infinite combo. I'd actually heard someone say that they gave Ridley's skewer a grab-like property in order to make this happen, so I was curious to see if the skewer went through Wonder Wing. However, it doesn't, so it's likely that it was just given some other type of unique property. Lastly in this video, Sammy Husky has shown us how the collision on Lilat was apparently updated in this recent patch. It's probably pretty difficult for you to see in this Twitter preview, but basically all you should know is that it'll be a lot harder to miss the ledge in a stupid manner now, as the walls and the ledges are much more generous. It's pretty cool that they're patching things like this, though I wish they'd include them in the patch notes, so it goes. That'll be it for today's video. I'd like to thank my patrons Felipe Morla, Dadddd, Burbo, Cody Benda, Raighne, Feurolant, Dino, PinkieOats, Aman Shareef, Scully, and Zamari. I hope y'all like this specialized video. To be blunt, while I think Min Min is a very unique character, and I like that about her, I also think she's really dull outside of that. But hey, facts are facts. Anything interesting or unique that's worth mentioning, I'll do so even after this video. After this will probably just be a normal facts video, so don't forget to subscribe if you want to catch it. Like, apparently 75% of y'all watching aren't even subscribed. so you're probably missing more than you think. And let me tell y'all, missing one of these insane facts videos is like missing a winning lottery ticket. Anywho, stay casual, stay safe, and I'll see y'all next time.